Let's testify, man. Oh God, you've done so much for me. I'm grateful and overwhelmed here at your feet. And I could stay here forever, Lord, but you call me to something more. And I hear you say that you have a plan to use every broken woman and man to display just how good you are. We are your living pieces of art. What good does it do to hide away when all of my scars are a picture of grace? All right. So I will testify of the power of God. I will tell the word of the hope I have found. For my body was broken, my heart was made whole, and that's too good to keep to myself. So I will testify of the power of God. Oh, do you believe it? Has he done it for anyone else? I said, has he done it for anyone else? Cause the God that I serve, he's always at work. Has he done it for anyone else? So come on and testify of the power of God. Come on and tell the world of the hope we have found. For our bondage was broken, our hearts were made whole, and that's too good to keep to yourself. Come on and testify of the power of God. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. I'm gonna testify. Somebody testify your voice. This is my. So I'm gonna testify. Somebody testify. Come on, take it out. Jesus, my champion, the victor of grace, the only one worthy of all of my praise. Yeah. So come on and testify. Oh, somebody lift him high. Come on, testify of the power of God. I will tell the world of the hope I have found. Oh, for my body was broken, my heart was made whole, and that's too good to keep to myself. So I will testify of the power of God. Sing that. Oh, my body was broken, my heart was made whole, and that's too good to keep to myself. So I will testify of the power of God. Oh, let's do that right now, Murfreesboro.
And wow, that's off. Let me fix that. And still off. Fix that a little bit. That's a little better. Oh man. Hey guys. So yeah, I'm definitely not feeling my best today. Had this really annoying ear infection in my right ear for about a week now. A little better than a week. And then this week, on top of that, basically just last couple of days been just feeling like absolute ragged, like fever and cold, back and forth, back and forth. Can't really eat anything. I think in the last couple of days, all I've had as far as food is I had some chicken broth, a chicken breast, and some mac and cheese. And that's it since Friday, I think. And water. So, yeah. Whatever this is, man, it is just hitting me for a loop. But I am here. I'll do the best I can for a little while. And yeah, and then unfortunately, I got to go out driving because just because I'm not feeling well doesn't mean them bills don't have to get paid. So yeah. Anyway, DK Ryer puts something weird in the chat. Then Miss Moneypenny is here. Stan Lee is here saying that he was hoping I'd be a bit late today. Well, I am a bit late, but tried to get here. My wife was nudging me to get going earlier. I just, man, it's all I can do to be here now. Mike Richards, best thing to come here from Columbus, Ohio, is here. Good to see you, buddy. And Stan says, sorry to hear I've been suffering some really unusual leg pain that's been preventing sleep. Oh, man, sleep. Yeah, I miss sleep. That's the other thing. It's like, man, really, like usually I wear a CPAP, but the CPAP is just so uncomfortable that I can't keep it on right now. And so that makes it so that sleeping is almost impossible for me. So, yeah, whatever this is, I can't wait for it to be done because it is definitely wiping me out. But I feel you there. Worst parts of illness when it affects eating and or sleep. Yeah, I agree. Because the thing is, especially like if you can't eat, then you don't have the strength you need to fight the illness, which makes it so you can't eat more. You know, so yeah, yeah, it's really annoying because the thing is like I'll feel like I'll get to a point where I think okay I think I can eat something, and then I'll eat a little something and then I feel like I just why did I do that and for the next several hours I feel like I want to throw up. And so yeah, and to me, I mean, I would rather just throw up and be done with it than to feel like you have to and not throw up. That's just. Josiah's in the house. Says, "Hey, good to see you." Street preacher says, "Yeah, I tried a hot shower before bed. Used up an entire tank, and legs felt better for about 10 minutes." Yeah, I yesterday I took probably about 4 or 5 scalding hot showers, and each time, yeah, I'd feel okay for a little while. It helped regulate the old body temperature for a few minutes, but then, it wouldn't stay. That's the problem. And Darren says that I should go on a prolonged fast. Okay. Please wear a mask for your passengers. Oh no, this is Tennessee. I'm going to be breathing on them on purpose. In Russia, the way the Orthodox Church got the Russian people to believe in Christianity is replacing their storm god with Elijah. Okay. Not sure what the point of that is, but I'll take your word for it. And I don't know what storm god you're referring to. Robert says, shalom, 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 Robert. Hope you're doing well. All right, so I don't really have a topic today because I just didn't have the strength to do any research. I apologize. Sonny the Cuckoo, the bird versus Burger King. I don't know. I'd probably have to give it to Burger King. He's a human. Yeah, Mike only insists on people wearing masks when the left is insisting on it. Yeah, that's what I said. Gotta love Darren. And so, I mean, if you're talking about during COVID, you know, it was Trump's administration that started the whole mask thing, not the left, although Trump is more left than right, but that's a whole other thing. And it just made good sense. You had a pandemic going on, but whatever. You don't want to care about that. The storm god I'm talking about is Param. I've never heard of Paran. You can plagiarize what was Corey's sermon about last night. Actually, the funny thing is, this is how bad I felt. I didn't go. I'm going to watch the live stream of it after this. So I don't. I know it was Mark chapter 15, but I don't know what he said. And I have not seen you in forever, Yosef. Good to see you. Greetings from the future. I hear you're feeling like your original anti-trekker at Atar. I'm not sure what you mean there. So how is the family doing? Hanging in there best we can. It's been a struggle. I'm not going to lie, Yosef, but it's always good to hear from you. And I'm still, I got to say, since you're here, I'm really, really mad that they cast Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom as opposed to you, because I think you would have been a far better choice. And of course, Darren wants to argue about masks. Don't care. What did your church do during COVID? Completely shut down or arrange outdoor services? We did virtual services during the height of the pandemic. How about scripted Christian things in movies and TV shows? For it or against it? I myself not really a fan of it. If you mean, are you talking about things like The Chosen, or are you talking about secular shows that depict Christians? Because I think those are different things. Or are you talking about things that try to say they're being biblically accurate, but just adding dialogue to it and stuff? Even though I've yet to see any of those that truly were. I don't know. I'm mixed on it. Like The Chosen, I think is really good. But I think one of the important things about The Chosen is that at least anybody I know of that watches it doesn't pretend to think that The Chosen is line for line, word for word what the Bible says. They don't try to make it out that The Chosen is in fact Scripture, and that the characterizations of many of the characters are just done for dramatic effect. And I'm okay with that as long as it doesn't water down the message. And I think The Chosen does an excellent job of that by creating some of the drama in, like, for example, with Peter. There's obviously nothing in the Bible about Peter having a wife and trying to have a child, and then she has a miscarriage and all that. And yet, it was really good at driving home some very real ideas about the nature of what it means to be a follower of Christ. Just online Zoom service. Yeah, we did online. Joseph obviously referenced your old anti-trekker avatar when he said Atar. Okay. Why is the old avatar up somewhere? Because if it is, I didn't realize it. They did not pay me enough, so I declined the role. Robert Downey Jr. is totally the second choice. Oh, okay. Well, all right. I'll give him a pass then. But they should have paid you more. Kool-Aid Man versus Tony the Tiger. Well, That's different. Initially I would want to say Tony the Tiger because Kool-Aid Man is literally just a glass jug with some, you know, sugary beverage in it. However, Kool-Aid Man does have the ability to bust straight through a brick wall, so I think I'd probably have to give it to Kool-Aid Man. All of what you mentioned. So yeah, I think that if I don't have a problem with the use of parables, and I think that's what things like The Chosen are. I'm not a big fan of the way that Hollywood tends to depict Christians in most film. It's very rare these days that a Christian is portrayed as anything other than either a psychopath or delusional in some way. But on the rare exception, it's always nice. I think that films should depict Christians just like any other group of people. There are good and bad. I think, but then I also think there's a problem in that most people that write about Christianity, whether it be in any kind of screenplay type format, they don't take the time to actually understand what it is that they're writing about. And even most Christians, unfortunately, don't take the time to truly try to understand it. That's one of the reasons that I've, changed my stance on things where I declared myself a non-sectarian because I'm sick and tired of people basically worshiping the church and worshiping these doctrines that sometimes have very little to do with what's actually in Scripture, and sometimes are the exact opposite of what's in Scripture. I would say, yeah, stuff like Lucifer. I haven't. I've only watched like one episode of Good Omens, so I can't really speak to that one. But I'm not a big fan of the idea of trying to humanize the devil, right? I don't mind, honestly, even though I know it bothers some people, and I would leave it to your own personal convictions if you think it's something you should or should not indulge in. But I don't mind so much if a movie has a demonic antagonist of some kind. But I do think that to try to make, like in Lucifer, the devil is just a misunderstood hero. It's basically like Wicked, except with the devil instead of the Wicked Witch of the West, And I think that's treading on some pretty dangerous ground there. Darren's correct. I wanted to write Avatar, but instead put the V in the space bar. That's no worries. If you mean I feel like my avatar, my old avatar, if that's what you meant, yes, I certainly do. Let's see. Yeah, I would say, Hollywood has a tendency to trivialize evil. And it's funny because okay, so I've seen two movies in the last 2 weeks that were both remakes of movies from 1987 starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jesse Ventura. And that, of course, is the Predator Badlands and the Running Man. And, you know, um, they both, I think they were both good movies overall. However, I also think that that it comes there's this trivialization of what we might call certain sins, and in both of these cases the movies ended with the hero of the film righteously and joyously killing someone who is utterly defenseless. And I don't like that. Like I said, overall, I thought that the Running Man was, Critical Drinker has just turned into a gross parody of himself. I mean, I'm sure that when Wicked for Good comes out, Critical Drinker is going to say it's the best movie of all time. But the uh, the Running Man, I thought, was far superior to the Arnold Schwarzenegger Running Man film. Not that that was a particularly high bar. That was not one of Schwarzenegger's best. But I really liked this version of the Running Man. I thought it was more interesting. I thought that the hero had better motives. And I thought the game was more interesting. But the ending of the movie just kind of bothered me because, which, by the way, in the original Running Man, if you haven't seen it, the movie ends with Schwarzenegger coming back into the TV studio and killing Killian. In the original, he's the host of the Running Man show. In this, more accurate to the novel, apparently, he's the producer of the show. But in both, he ends up at the end of the movie coming back and killing Killian. But I just felt like, why can't the hero be a hero? Why do we have to finish it with him murdering the bad guy? And I think about things like, in fact, last night when I was trying to get to sleep, I usually, when I can't sleep, I'll put on Star Trek the original series. And the episode By Any Other Name came on. And for those of you who don't remember that, that was a group called themselves the Kelvins from the Andromeda Galaxy, who were planning to invade the Milky Way galaxy. They quickly took over the Enterprise because of their superior technology. And then en route back to Andromeda, the Kirk and the gang managed to, trick them into realizing that they couldn't make it work the way they wanted to. And at the end of the episode, does Kirk kill the Kelvins? Does Kirk punish them in something? No. He basically says, "Hey, why don't you take that planet we found you on, and we'll send a robot ship back to your galaxy with a proposal for you guys to settle in uninhabited parts of the galaxy." And the leader of the Kelvin said, "You would welcome an enemy?" And Kirk said, "No, but we'll gladly welcome friends." That's a hero. But if that episode were written today, I would dare say that at the end of it, once they beat the Kelvins and got the ship turned back around, Kirk would just take him out on the hangar deck and shoot him. It just, I don't like that. And nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to even care about the fact that our heroes are less and less heroic. In the old days, and I understand that from an entertainment set, there's an old saying in a writing class I took once. One of the principles in the book, it actually said the Death Star must blow up at the end, meaning that the audience has to have some kind of satisfying conclusion, right? You can't just let evil go unpunished. And there's some truth to that, but it seems like, like in the 70s and 80s and even into the 90s, with most movies, if the hero was going to kill the villain at the end of the movie, it was usually because the hero had no choice, right? That the bad guy was beaten, the hero is like triumphant and everything's groovy. And then as the hero turns around to leave, the bad guy pulls out his gun and is going to shoot him. And so the hero kills the bad guy in self defense. Something like that. Now it's just here, let me put this gun to your head and shoot you. And everybody cheers because, yay, the good guys win. But to me, that's still just straight up murder. So I don't know. Don't like that. So, and Stan asks if, I know this is directed at Robert, but I think this is an interesting follow, is if these types of things, the portrayal of Christians and biblical characters, is it blasphemous? Blasphemy specifically is to speak against. And so it would be if, let's say that, like, for example, I don't see anything in The Chosen that I would consider blasphemous. Now, if Jesus were giving the Sermon on the Mount and he started saying things like, hey, you know what? Sleeping around's all right, as long as you don't do it too much. And, it's all right to do, you pick out whatever you want. And, Jesus just started, that would be blasphemy. And so I think that I'd be very careful about leveling the charge of blasphemy. Blasphemy is to intentionally speak directly against what the Bible says. Lee says, I mean, your son's cartoons, he's still doing them. He does them on his own. You can check out his channel, The Scarved Insect is still there, so you can check it out. The old anti-checker Avatar versus Mr. Hanky, the Christmas Pooh from South Park. Oh, I think my avatar would absolutely curb stomp Mr. Hanky. For one thing, well, yeah, my avatar has got, a distinct weight advantage. So, yeah. Judge Dredd versus the Punisher. Would Dredd see the Punisher as a criminal? Oh, absolutely, Dredd would see, because Punisher is a criminal. He's a vigilante. And vigilantism is generally illegal. So, but who wins in a straight up fight? That's an interesting question. Dredd has the advantage of his multifaceted weaponry, where Punisher is an expert in all things weapons. I would dare say that from what we've seen of both, I would probably give the edge to the Punisher because the Punisher, Dredd, under normal circumstances, Dredd doesn't seem to be carrying the kind of firepower that Punisher would. One of the better depictions of Christians in an otherwise secular film would be Harvey Keitel's family in From Dusk Till Dawn. I thought that was an interesting one. I don't know if I would say it was a great depiction of Christians, but at least it was a positive one. It was absolutely very cheesy and hokey, and you had to buy into certain ideas that are, let's just say, not entirely scriptural, but, and I'm not just talking about the fact that there are vampires. I mean, obviously, if you're going to do a vampire movie, you're going to have vampires in them. But like the idea of holy water and stuff like that, because that was like one of their primary weapons in the movie. Now, some people argue about the legitimacy of something like holy water, but as far as I know, there's not a passage in the Bible that says that a priest can bless water and turn it into a weapon against demonic influence. But, hey, maybe I'm wrong. Dogma's finally coming out for 4K this holiday season. Great. Well, I won't be watching it. Buster Keaton versus Steve O. I don't remember who Steve O is. Sorry, brain's not working. I saw that new one, Good Fortune with Keanu Reeves and Seth Rogen. It was disappointing. Okay, so Good Fortune. For those of you who don't know, it's a satirical look at and movies like that. It's kind of like I saw two movies recently that dealt with supernatural things from a very Hollywood-esque perspective, and that was one of them. There's Good Fortune, in which Keanu Reeves plays an angel who's kind of an idiot, and the other one is Eternity, where the movie starts with the main character dying, or one of the main characters dying. There are three main characters in the movie. One is already dead at the beginning of the film, one dies right at the beginning of the film, and the other dies shortly thereafter. And neither of them, I would say, are would just say I don't think neither of them actually depict Christianity at all. Right? They deal with some vaguely supernatural ideas, like in obviously in Good Fortune they deal with the idea of angels, but in the same way that It's a Wonderful Life does. The angels are basically these superpowered beings that go around helping people. Keanu Reeves' job is literally to go around helping people who are texting while driving to prevent them from getting into accidents. And so he's the guardian angel of texting and driving. Go figure. And the but there's no real references to Jesus. There is a reference to God when Seth Rogen says he wants a meeting with God, but he doesn't get his meeting with God. So, but it was a light-hearted film. I saw Good Fortune is mostly harmless because it was really just a moral take on, does wealth, money, and power, does it really make you happy? And the truth is, and I think the movie actually does a fairly good job of showing this. The answer is more nuanced than just a simple yes or no. There's the old saying that money can't buy happiness, but that's not true at all. Money absolutely can buy happiness, but happiness is fleeting. Money cannot sustain happiness because there's always a need for more. And what we really should be pursuing is not happiness, but contentment and joy. And that's something that has a lot deeper meaning than just being happy because we happen to have all the money we want. But I think that it was a mostly harmless movie. It had some funny moments. It had a decent moral story to it, even though the I felt like it was done better in other movies in the past. I didn't see as bad. Now the other one, Eternity, I was a little more mixed on. I thought that it was an interesting idea. With Eternity, basically after you die, you end up at this gigantic bus station and or train station really, and you have to pick. You get to pick your eternity. Now, there is brief references to a whole host of different religions because if you want you can go to a Catholic eternity, or you can go to a Baptist eternity, or you can go to a Hindu eternity, or whatever you want. And so it's one of those, yeah, every religion is right kind of things. But the trick is that once you pick your eternity, you have to stay in that eternity for all eternity. So it doesn't matter if you pick the wrong one. Well, that's too bad. And it's a play on, and I think it would have been more interesting if they had actually hit it a little more directly. But it's a play on something that the Sadducees said to Jesus. I think it was the Sadducees said to Jesus. And let me grab it real quick because I think, let's see. Okay, so it would be Matthew 22. And of course, I'm not signed in. Continue. All right. Okay, yeah, it was the Sadducees. All right, so this is from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 22. All right, And then right here it says, at the same day, the Sadducees, who say there is no resurrection, came to him with a question. Teacher, they said, Moses told us that if a man dies without having children, his brother must marry the widow and raise up offspring for him. Now, there were 7 brothers among us. The first one married and died, and since he had no children, he left his wife to his brother. The same thing happened to the second and third brother, right down to the seventh. Finally, the woman died. Now then, at the resurrection, whose wife will she be of the 7, since all of them were married to her? And to which Jesus says, you are in error because you do not know the scriptures or the power of God. At the resurrection, people will neither marry nor be given in marriage, as they will be like the angels in heaven. Now, people have interpreted this in different ways. Generally speaking, what you can definitely take away from this is that, I mean, the classic marriage vow is until death do you part. And so at death, the marriage contract, if you will, is fulfilled. So the at that point, there you are no longer married to that individual, and so in that particular case, the woman would not be married to any of them because the marriage contract ended. But in the movie, in Eternity, she marries a man just at the beginning of the Korean War. He gets shipped off to Korea and is killed. Then she marries another man and is married to him for 60 odd years, and then he dies, and then she dies, and so then she has to pick an eternity with one of these 2 men that she was married to. And so it kind of becomes a direct play on that. And I think that it's obviously, I would say that in a small sense, this one I would consider somewhat blasphemous in that it goes directly against what the Bible teaches as far as the afterlife and everything. And I, I think it was a bad movie? Not really. Did I think it was a great movie? No, it was all right. I It was pretty much a standard rom com, except with a little bit of afterlife flair thrown in. Right down to the woman is getting on the train, getting ready to leave, and the guy has to run through the crowd to try and stop her from making this horrible mistake that she's about to make. So yeah, but yeah, I think that the depiction of the afterlife in that movie, I didn't particularly care for. Like I said, when it comes to the Keanu Reeves movie, Good Fortune, I it didn't bother me as much because of the fact that that movie was very strictly tongue in cheek the entire time. Darren points out that the new Running Man isn't a remake of the Arnold film. It's another adaptation to the Richard Bachman Stephen King novel. Well, Richard Bachman being Stephen King, yes. It is a more accurate rendition of the novel than the Arnold Schwarzenegger film. However, most normies only know that there was a Running Man movie. And so to call it a remake of the movie is true because it's a movie that's the same title and the same basic story with the same characters and adapted from the same source material. It's a remake. Now, is it a shot by shot? It's not an adaptation of the original screenplay, it's an adaptation of the original source material. But so what? But I get it. You want to split hairs. That's what you do best. It sounded interesting, but so did Good Fortune. I didn't think he did anything very interesting with the Good Fortune concept. My only question is, who the heck is Glenn Powell? I'm not sure what you mean there. Is the next actor that Hollywood is going to try Oh, the guy. He was in a few things. I mean, I had to think for a minute there. Jeez, my brain is definitely. So yeah, Glenn is. He's been in a few things, some of which you no doubt have seen. But yeah, most recently, I mean, he was in The Running Man. He was in Top Gun Maverick. He was in Hitman, Twister, Anyone But You. You know, he's fairly successful so far as an actor, and I don't think he's a bad actor. Just trying to see if there's. He was on Rick and Morty. There you go. But yeah. Um, Trying to see if there's anything else that he's been in that I've. He was in the Expendables 3. Didn't know about that one, but I don't really care for the Expendables stuff. Oh, he was in The Dark Knight Rises. That's funny. He was one of the stock traders. Let's see. His first movie was Spy Kids 3 as the long fingered boy. So there you go. So I mean, look, he's been acting now for 22 years. It's not like he's like, oh, all of a sudden Hollywood is pushing him. It's just that he's had a string of recent successes, particularly with the Top Gun. I think was really good. He played that smarmy character just perfectly. And in this, I actually really liked him in The Running Man. He was extremely charismatic in The Running Man. And it's a fine line because he's like a good dad with anger issues. And that's a tough one to play. And I think he does a good job of it. Stephen King seems to get a lot of love this year. We've had Long Walk, New Running Man, and Welcome to Derry It streaming show. There's another one too, I think. But Stephen King, a lot of people don't realize Stephen King has had so many movies made. Uh, so let's see. By year. So if we look at, my goodness, there's a lot of movies here. List of works, blah, 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 blah. All right, so yeah, we also had The Monkey this year was also a Stephen King book. So yeah, for movies this year we've had The Long Walk, Running Man, The Monkey, and of course It. Last year we had Salem's Lot, The Life of Chuck. We had The Boogeyman 2023 and 2022. We had Mr. Harrigan's Phone and Firestarter. 2020, there was Children of the Corn. 2019, Pet Cemetery to tell the In the Tall Grass and Doctor Sleep. And that and then that's just and then let's see, television adaptations. Yeah, it's really stupid how much his stuff is all over the place. But yeah, I mean, this is just the third or fourth rendition of It this year. Although one thing that's kind of funny is that one of the big giveaways that this Running Man is more true to the Stephen King source material is that part of the movie takes place in Derry. CinemaSins versus the Critical Drinker and Criticism of Movies and Shows. Well, CinemaSins isn't really a critic per se. I think he's more true to his format, where he just points out little things that he thinks are silly. The problem with CinemaSins I see is, especially in recent years, I haven't liked him as much in the last couple of years, but he seems to. CinemaSins, in some ways, is kind of the anti-critical drinker. He seems to sometimes try to push the left agenda, just like Critical Drinker tries to attack the left agenda with everything that he does. Uh, let's see. Did you listen to the Con audio drama? Your thoughts? If you talked about it previously, ignore my question. No, I've not talked about it. I have not listened to it, to be honest, because just completely honest about it, Joseph, it doesn't interest me at all. I talked about this when they first announced it. Even when they were talking about doing it as a television series on Paramount Plus, I thought it was a bad idea because we know what happened to Khan. I mean, we saw, if you've seen Space Seed, you know how he ended up on SETI Alpha 5. And if you saw Star Trek 2, you know how he got off of SETI Alpha 5. And they say enough in Star Trek 2 to where you get an idea of what happened. 6 months after they were left there, the neighboring planet exploded. The change in the system's gravity changed the orbit of SETI Alpha 5, so it became a desert wasteland. And thanks to Khan's incredible genius, they managed to survive. And I don't think you need any more than that. It's kind of like, in my opinion, it's Rogue One all over again. It's like Rogue One, I know a lot of people like as a movie, and it's not a bad movie per se, but it's a completely and utterly unnecessary one. It's a movie that is made up from one sentence from the opening crawl of the original Star Wars. And it's like, yeah, I like Ryan George, who unfortunately has been on a leave of absence. I guess he had some kind of family tragedy or something, so he hasn't been doing any production. But when he did his pitch meeting for Rogue One, I love the way that he says, "So, you got an idea for a Star Wars movie?" Yes, sir, I do. You know how at the beginning of Episode 4 we say that the rebels, got the plans to the Death Star? Yeah, I thought we'd just do that. That's all it is. A con audio drama is just doing that with the couple of lines of dialogue that we already know. And maybe it's good, but I don't really get into radio drama anyway. So yeah, maybe blasphemous is the wrong word. How about just disrespectful? Well, blasphemous, yeah, disrespectful describes most of Hollywood's depiction of Christians and Christianity. Most Christians are depicted as either well-meaning but duped, or they are straight up evil. Like you have your televangelist types, you have your predator priests, and all that. The only time generally Hollywood tries to portray Christians in heroic roles at all is in horror movies, and even that is becoming less frequent. And it's becoming more common now that you see that the Christian is inept at dealing with the evil demonic threat, and it takes someone with the power of belief in themselves or something to, whatever. I didn't see that question. No, not blasphemous, just not sincere and genuine. Let's see. The old anti-Avatar versus number two in the Emoji movie. Well, the number two in the Emoji movie was Patrick Stewart, and so Patrick Stewart is like 113 years old, so I'd take him. Buster Keaton versus Johnny Knoxville. What is your thing with Buster Keaton, Josiah? There was a special comic book published years ago called Batman Judge Dredd Judgment on Gotham, where Dredd has charged Batman with vigilantism and pursued him from Mega City 1 to Gotham to arrest. Okay. In the Carl Urban Dredd movie, there's quite a few calls about recycling dead humans. So does that mean Soylent Green set up? You could argue that, but of course we never got a sequel, so who knows? The retirement plan the Judge Dredd universe really sucks. No 401k, pension, or Social Security. It's just the long walk. Yep. And then you can go see the movie, The Long Walk. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Which we saw. Yeah. So, Matt, back to Stephen King. I suppose Mike would call the 2017 Murder on the Orient Express a remake of the 1974 film instead of another adaptation of the Agatha Christie novel, too. I suppose Darren would like to get pedantic on any and all things. Just curious, but have you had any formal instruction in public speaking? I want to compliment your relative lack of vocal tics. Yes and no. I did a lot of drama in high school and post high school and community theater and stuff. That's about it. My autoplay dumped me into a Doomcock stream, and I had to get up and turn it off because he says, you know, at the end of nearly every sentence, similar to how some people say, yeah. Little ticks like that, I try to avoid. I know that we all do it sometimes, and the more you think about it, the more it tends to come out. So I know that some people are like, well, you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying, and you know what I'm saying. And it's just, ugh, every time I hear that, it drives me crazy. So I try not to do that, but I know I fail from time to time. It's driving me nuts. I figured someone who streams regularly would learn how to speak without using crutch words so often. Well, it depends though, because some people, they don't intend on, like Doomcock, where he really shines was in his early days when, and I haven't watched him in a couple of years to be honest, so I don't know what he's doing nowadays. But in his early days, when almost all of his content was scripted, melodramatic, he's living in a volcano and all that stuff, and burning with the fury of 1,000 suns about the evilness of what Star Trek Discovery has done. And that was a lot of fun, but it's much easier to speak more eloquently when you're reading from a script. Also got dumped into a neurotic stream. He tends to repeat the sentence while he's figuring out what to say next. I haven't noticed that about Gary, but I haven't watched him in a while either. To be honest, most of the so called fandom menace people I pay very little attention to now. And I find it frustrating because whenever I do tune in, it's so ridiculously predictable. All right, and we're back. That was fun. So, yeah, the why am I hearing it? Oh, because I have it on my phone. All right, so yeah, we the power went out for about 30 seconds, and of course had to wait for the modem to come back on and all that. So here we are. All right. Street Preacher said, you'll pause sometimes, but so far I've noticed anything annoying like, or other words people use to avoid signs. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I do my best. It's usually one of the first things you're taught to avoid in taking public speaking courses. Yeah, I've never actually taken a course on public speaking per se. I've just done a lot of acting. Darren says, I'm hoping the age of prequels is almost over. I don't think we'll ever be done with prequels. Last night on Star Trek II was a Comet TV followed by Into Darkness, which I didn't watch, though the original Khan versus new Khan. Well, if you're talking about quality of film, obviously original Khan beats out new Khan easily. If you're talking about how they're depicted as far as physical and mental abilities, I would dare say that Bambler Blatch Nikrovich does a better job at appearing to be superhuman than Ricardo Montalban, even though I love Ricardo Montalban's performance. What about biopics? Biopics, the problem with biopics is that if it's someone who's well known, then they're going to embellish, either to demonize the person or to make them come out as being a hero when they're truly just an average person. When and With the more obscure people, the stories can be really interesting and compelling, even like Christie, for example, which I actually found to be a surprisingly good movie, but and also surprisingly accurate for a biopic. However, is Christie going to make a ton of money? No, because nobody knows who the heck she is. Or do their successes? Well, that's the problem. Yeah, with biopics, generally speaking, like the commercially successful biopics are usually based on people who everybody knows. That's why like doing the biopic on Springsteen. Well, which I have no interest in seeing whatsoever. Let's see, Springsteen bombed, but they're doing a Michael Jackson one, so we'll see how it's received. We see in the Michael Jackson one, and this is the problem with a film like this, is that if you're doing a Michael Jackson biopic, where do you come down on the more controversial aspects of his life, right? So, because with the biopic, you can't just say, well, maybe he did some shady stuff, maybe he didn't. You can either avoid the subject altogether, or you can decide one way or the other how it actually went down. And so I don't, and no matter what you do, you're going to anger half your potential fan base. So yeah, I don't know that there's an easy way out of that one. Problem with biopics is if you want to use the real music, then you have to work with the estate, who usually wants to whitewash the movie. That can be a problem as well, but yeah, it is what it is. I think biopics can be interesting, but I would, generally speaking, I take them with a grain of salt. But you want to tell an unencumbered story, then the estate will probably not allow you to do the real music. Well, assuming you're doing a biopic about a musician, yes. But if you're doing a story about a politician or a athlete or something like that, then you know you can do whatever you want. Because you say Buster Keaton always wins. I don't say Buster Keaton always wins. What is your opinion on the female Jem'Hadar Star Trek Academy TV show? I don't have one. And I'll tell you why. I know a lot of people were making a big old deal out of there being a female Jem'Hadar in the trailer. I don't care. That to me, that is about as controversial as having someone with, a different hairstyle. It just doesn't mean anything. Now, is the character going to be interesting? Does this character have an interesting backstory? That's what I care about. The fact that there happens to be a female Jem'Hadar, I don't think is either a positive or a negative in and of itself. I know some people make a big deal out of it because, of course, in the time of Deep Space Nine, all Jem'Hadar are male and they are genetically created in test tubes as opposed to, naturally conceived. However, as far as I know, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm certainly could be wrong about this, but I don't think they ever said canonically that the Jem'Hadar are incapable of reproducing. Just that they don't. And so, why would it not be possible for a Jem'Hadar male to have married a Cardassian female or something, And as such, it would be entirely possible for the Jem'Hadar to have female offspring. So, yeah, that I don't care about. But overall, the from what I've seen of the Star Trek Academy show, I do not have high hopes for it. It took a long time for me to drop the Wisconsin, Minnesota ticks like "don't you know" and "here" after every sentence. I could understand that. Lee says what happened and what happened. Yeah, I lost power. No biggie. Yeah, just enough why Doomcock usually does a pop culture live stream with a few regulars once a week and a sing along live stream every Friday. That's the one Bird of Prey liked. Yeah. And Doomcock had a wonderful, still does, I'm sure, a wonderful singing voice, which is not something you would expect considering his persona from his, super villainy days. But quite frankly, I just don't. I'm tired of the constant. I don't even know what the right word is, but it's just the hate train that all these people. If it's made by Disney or if it's a remake, reboot, or prequel or whatever, it's automatically bad, right? Unless it's Wicked, of course, according to Critical Drinker. And no, I did not hit the wrong button. Let's see. Keep in mind that he's been doing live streams for 10 years, folks. Yeah, I have been doing live streams for a long time. Doomcock versus Laurie Loaded. Who wins in a fight? Well, you know, I don't know. Here's the problem. I've never seen Doomcock without his mask. So, yeah, I don't know what the age differences or anything like that. So couldn't tell you. Salty versus Stream. Well, the Stream seems to have won today. So yeah, the speech pattern thing is evident when he's talking. Oh man, I've give me one of them words that I struggle with. Extra talking off the cuff and gets annoying once you notice it. Yes. Any reports of asteroid strikes in Tennessee? Not that I know of. Let's see. Nope, it's down. See, it's down for everyone. Check to see if he starts a new one. Obviously, I came back on. Just hope he's not still talking. No, the whole house went dark for a second. And then, let's see. Didn't see one either. There we go. Okay, he's probably still talking. He's so far behind in the chat, he won't realize anything for at least 25 minutes. That's Darren for you. He's trying. Maybe T'Pring ate the internet connection. Nope, she's sitting right here. She's sleeping. And yeah, power goes. We don't get power outages very often. The way that it hit like that, I'm assuming a car hit a pole nearby or something. Maybe we get a candlelit phone stream. I haven't done that yet. If you can afford it, perhaps invest in a. If you can afford it, perhaps invest in a generic. Oh, I see. Mean generator. Yeah, can't afford that. They cut the power. How could they cut the power? They're animals. And yes, I am here. Hopefully, he knows what he's doing, or we might say, or we might get salty back with his hair standing on end. That would be bad. He's in a time loop. Oh, goodness. I just watched the 4K, that in 4K the other night. Game over, man. Game over. Voice repeating. Sorry, I had two streams up. Alive. I don't know. Let's see. I don't know you, but you remember, LOL. I don't know how when Chekhov was there in space. Well, Chekhov, or well, Walter Koenig explained that. So, yeah, when Khan says, I never forget a face, Mr. Chekhov, isn't it? So, Walter Koenig, when he read those pages, he loved it, and so he intentionally did not correct anybody that Chekhov would not have known Khan, and he's admitted as much. But he also said, and I do think this is funny, that his official story is that Chekhov was on the ship. He just wasn't a bridge officer yet. And what happened was just before the big meeting where they were torturing Kirk in the decompression chamber and everything, Khan had to use the bathroom. And so he went down the corridor to go to the bathroom, and Chekhov just came out of there and basically warned Khan that, not a good idea. And he completely clogged the toilet system. And so now, remember, Chekhov is the guy that clogged the toilet for Khan. When Khan looks at him, it's like, but you. It's because, yeah, it's him. Did Christie do better than Smashing Machine? I don't know how it did at the box office in comparison. Let's see. Let's see. Christie. Not that great. Let's see. Oh, it does, looks like it's not. That's not the same movie. It's like that definitely is not it. That movie made 45,000. Let's see. There it is. All right. So it was released on the 7th. So about a week ago, it's made 1.7 million. So not great. And it has not been released overseas as of yet. And let's see. And Smashing Machine, which I also have no interest in, that one's up to 20 million. And Smashing Machine, however, came out back in October. And if we look, let me see. Trying to. So Smashing Machine definitely did better, but of course it had the name recognition of The Rock going for it, and 20 million is that's respectable, but it's not like earth shaking. I don't know what the budget was for it. Would I watch a biopic of Gene Roddenberry? Well, Thomas Potts some time ago gave me a copy of the Center Seat documentary series on Trek, and I've been watching it with the wife. And I have to say, they're a little more even handed on Roddenberry than I was expecting them to be. But I don't know, because I don't know that anybody would have the balls to actually do an accurate biopic of Roddenberry. Just like my mom was a big Elvis fan and she didn't like hearing of the bad things that Elvis did. Yeah. Yeah, nobody, that's the thing. When you have a biopic about someone that people idolize, their true fans are going to be really, really pissed off if they show the bad stuff, and then other people will be pissed off if they whitewash everything. So where do you go? Does anybody who's seen Pluribus think the show will end up having religious themes? I still haven't watched it. We have it in our watch list, but we haven't watched it yet. Steve Irwin versus Nigel Thornberry. Well, I would go with the one who wasn't killed by an animal. Seems each person's reaction is probably informed by their worldview, and Carol is the only Western Christian person, while everyone else is Asian, like Buddhist or Hindu. I'm not sure where that's coming from. Oh, it's talking about Pluribus. Okay, yeah, I don't know. And communists or Hindu might react differently to the situation than Christian or capitalist. Well, see, I don't know anything about the show yet, so please don't spoil it. Tony the Tiger versus Chester Cheetah. Well, that's a tough one because, you know, both cheetahs and tigers are known to be ferocious cats. Now, tigers definitely have the weight advantage over a cheetah. Cheetah have speed advantage, but only for short bursts. Now, add to that both Chester and Tony are fueled by incredibly bad for you snack foods. But at least, Frosted Flakes is part of a balanced breakfast, and so I'll have to give it to Tony. And then I miss on Nerd Fight. No, there was no Nerd Fights on Friday. Mr. Know It All couldn't make it. I'm not sure why as of yet. Oh, and there goes my camera, of course, because why not have it crash right in the middle of everything? Let's see if I can get it back up. Come on. That's probably. Hold on. Yes. Connection refused. Why? Gonna be one of them days. All right. There we go. Oh man, just one of them days. All right. Where were we? You guys should talk about Pluribus and who's Mr. Know-It-All's in love with Welcome to Dairy. Yeah, we were going to talk about Welcome to Dairy, and then he had a string of things where he couldn't do the show. So hopefully, yeah. There's at least a couple of new things might be talking about. True, and of course we got Starfleet Academy right around the corner. Can't wait for that. Center Seat, wasn't that directed by No. Center Seat, I know it's hosted by Gates McFadden, but let's see. It's called The Center Seat, 55 Years of Trek. Let's try to see. It was directed by Brian Volk Weiss. So, yeah. But they do spend a decent amount of time throwing Gene Roddenberry, and particularly Gene Roddenberry's lawyer, under the bus. Old Running Man versus New Running Man. Old Running Man is one of my favorite movies. I like the new one better, but it's a very different movie. It's a very different flavor of a movie. The hunters in the classic Running Man movie are basically WWE wrestlers with guns, right? Whereas in this, they're more like, I would say, more down to earth assassins. The rules of the game are different. Obviously, in the original, you just had to basically avoid getting killed by the hunters. In this one, not only the hunters are after you, but everybody is after you, and anybody can win money in the Running Man game by turning in the runners. So if you spot the Running Man in your neighborhood and you call in, then you get a cash prize. And your cash prize goes up if the Running Man ends up getting killed because of your call. Reminds me of the line of the show I watched. Someone was deconstructing another person's hero to humanize him, and the response was, I've had enough humans. Don't know what that was from. Meaning we need heroes regardless of their human. I don't know if I'm looking at that word right, but yeah, we do need heroes to be heroic, and unfortunately, it's something we have lost in modern storytelling for the most part. It's very rare nowadays that a hero in a story is truly heroic. At best, nowadays we get anti-heroes. And even when we look at like where it should be the most obvious, things like superhero movies and stuff, it's getting more and more the case where those are going down the anti-hero path. And I really don't like that. Yeah, it's just something that really bugs me. All right. Generic is a generator that runs off natural gas or propane. They're available at Lowe's now. Oh, okay. Did not know about them. Let's see. Just found out my old backup of that. Was going to watch it today and flipping though. I'm not sure I ever watched the whole thing before. Are you talking about the Running Man? If you've never watched it, you should watch. It's a fun movie. It's a stupid movie, but it's a fun movie. Is it warm yet? Because it seems everything going south. It is warmer this weekend than it was last week. Last week it was downright. We actually had some snow, which was quite surprising. But now it's in like the 70s. Wonder Woman versus Xena Warrior Princess. So Xena was supposedly a daughter of Ares. I never watched Xena, so I can't really comment on that. Sorry, Shatner directed The Captains in Chaos on the Bridge. Yes. And foible, a minor weakness or eccentricity in someone's character. Gotcha. I see. That's the thing. Do I want characters that are perfect? No. I don't mind a heroic character that is a foible. Thank you, foible, however you pronounce it. I don't want my heroic characters to be perfect. I don't want Mary Sue's, but I do want them to be at their core heroic, meaning that they will do the right thing. They're not going to just execute somebody because they can. Xena fought gods and demigods on the show. I will take your word for it. And then correcting my pronunciation, which of course was horrifically bad, and I'm surprised Darren hasn't sent 17 comments about how laughable it is that I don't know how to properly pronounce that word, because that's what Darren likes to do. All right. So it looks like I'm actually caught up, believe it or not. So we'll see. Anything else before I wrap things up? We didn't really talk about much today, but, I'll take all the blame for that. Anything? Going once? Going twice? I hate to do that so quickly because, for all I know, somebody's frantically typing, and I hate to cut them off right when they finish typing something. So I try to wait a second. All right, well, it looks like you guys are done. So with that, then, I will wrap it up and try to do my best to get enough driving in so that I can hopefully rest. And, yeah, I just hope I get better soon. Anyway, guys, so see you. I don't remember if the wife and I are doing anything tomorrow, so either tomorrow or Tuesday. Oh, wait. Take care, Solid Treasure. See you next time, hopefully. All right. You guys take care and have as good a day as you possibly can.